podcast. This is the Bearsman podcast. Thanks for listening to the Bearsman podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bear With Me podcast. Today's a big one. We've got a man who's not afraid to speak his mind, who's challenged the political establishment head on, the leader of the People's Party of Canada, Mr. Maxime Bernier. Now, love him or hate him, you can't deny he's one of the few politicians who's actually willing to say what most Canadians are thinking. The government's too big, our freedoms are shrinking, and we're sending billions overseas while our own people are barely scraping by. We're going to talk about some foreign aid, Canada's collapsing middle class, and what it's going to take to rebuild the country from the ground up. There are a lot of issues plaguing our country today, and it just seems to be getting worse. So we'll see what his plan is to fix all of this stuff.
I'm going to keep him accountable. So I hope he comes correct and I hope he comes honest, because I think that's what people want to hear is, you know, you get all these politicians that go on these podcasts or go on these interviews and they never say exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
And I want to hear it. Say what you really mean. Let the people know, because nowadays it's like people our age, just like they could care less about politics. I constantly hear this all the time. They say, well, that's the government. Nothing's going to change. So I want to hear it from them. What would you do to make the change? What's going to happen? How do we get young people, even people younger than me, getting back into politics, get people actually caring about our country and, you know, wanting to make a difference?
Yeah, I think it starts with instilling hope and national pride back in the country. Because if people don't care about the country or they feel hopeless with the government, then they're not going to want to pay attention. They're just going to tune out because they feel powerless.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's
So-
like you don't feel like your vote matters anymore. So it's like less and less people vote.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many people, like how many friends I know who in the last federal election, even in our last mayoral election, like I didn't vote.
Well, there was, 35% turnout in Calgary?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's awful. So
And
I
it's
think
like that one should matter the most.
Yeah, and even with the federal election, I think there was only a 50% turnout, not even.
Half of Canada decided they didn't give a shit.
And you wonder why we're in the state that we're in this country.
It's like people like constantly like to say that. It's like, oh, I wish things would change. Well, what are you doing?
Well, exactly. The only power that you have democratically is your vote. So you can't really complain about the state of your life if you're not willing to even take, I don't know, half an hour to an hour out of your day once every 4 years to go and vote.
Well, it's like that saying. It's like, what can my country do for me? It's like, no, what can you do for your country? And a lot of people just don't even want to give the time of day to do anything.
No, they don't.
It's like, I can't tell you how many people I ask. I'm like, hey, do you know who your like alderman is? Nope. You don't even know who the guy who's in charge of your district is. And you're bitching about what's going on in the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you take charge of what's going on in your community first and then work your way up from there? It's like the mayor. It's like, I didn't vote for that guy. I'm kind of pissed he got in because he's like a shadow of what Nenshi was.
Yep.
So different person, same beliefs.
Well, and even in the city that I'm in, we had an election as well, and now our property taxes are going up. 20% increase in public education funding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your property taxes are going up more?
It's only 3.25% still, though.
But that's still a decent amount.
Yeah.
Isn't the whole point to be lowering taxes?
Yeah, you'd think.
It's like, who ran on that? It's like, hey, guys, we're not going to lower them. We're actually going to make them higher. It's like, dude, that sounds great.
You'd think with the ever expansion of the amount of homes within the cities in Canada, that they would have more tax revenue because there's more homes. Sure, you have to build more roads. There's more roads to service, but we don't even really plow that much here anyway. So I don't really know where all that money is going to service. Okay, you got a guy that drives down an extra road to pick up garbage.
Well, it's my thing is like, I don't think we have more homes. Like, look at, like, we don't have the infrastructure to have all these people here. Like, look what's going on with the teachers strike. They're bitching about too many kids in the classroom. Okay, well, we talked about this last time. Stop letting all these people in. Stop voting liberal. And it's like, yeah, if you want smaller classes, get involved in, smaller politics, like get involved in your community. And it's like, where do we go from here? It's like these guys are constantly bitching about the same thing. It's like, oh, we have too many people. Okay, well then don't vote that way.
Yeah.
And then when that way comes, it's like they're like, well, what can I do about it?
It's loyalty to the party is what it is.
I'm not loyal to anyone.
Nope.
I want whoever's the best person for the job, whether that be a liberal, never going to happen. Conservative, the PPC guy. Like, I just want someone who's actually going to make a difference and lines up with, my beliefs in a way. I mean, I don't have to agree with everything, but the majority of things you should, be on par with.
Well, the basic survival stuff, food, shelter, clothing. How much is that costing? It's just ever going up.
Yeah. Like, I want less money going towards food. I want homes to be cheaper to pay for. I want homes to be cheaper to build. And like, yeah, I want more people to come here, but not at the expense of me having to pay double the amount.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much do you pay? Like, I don't know what it is here, but like where I live, like our heating bill, like our energy bill every month goes up and up, it seems. Like one month we paid $700 and I think it was almost $800.
Wow.
For heat, electrical, water, all that shit.
The problem is all the service fees. It's not even how much you're actually using.
Dude, I looked at an NMAX bill. Shout out NMAX, they're constantly fucking us. But you look at the usage, and it's like maybe $200 in usage.
Yeah.
And then the other $500 is all fees.
Yep.
Administrative fee. What the fuck are you talking about? What administrative fee am I paying?
Well, and you don't have to because not every country does that. When I was in China, my electricity bill, water bill was like $10 Canadian for like 3 months, dude.
Yeah.
There was no service charges, no delivery charges. It's insanity.
And it's like, who was our one premier who there was a cap on how much they could charge you?
I don't know.
It was the guy, I think, before Danielle Smith.
Jason Kenney?
Jason Kenney. I think it was him who put a cap on it. And then Danielle Smith removed that cap. Now, I don't know the, strategic planning of that, but it's like, that didn't help anyone.
Mm-mm.
Like it's such a shame that it's just like the majority of our money doesn't stay in our bank account.
Nope.
Like I get paid and within 2 days it's pretty much gone.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just gets more and more expensive every year. Nothing goes down. But it also, the state of our country doesn't get better with that money being spent.
No.
A lot of the money that we send overseas, we get nothing in return. It's all nonsense. A lot of it is just political goodwill, to the voter base, especially in the Liberal Party. They like to virtue signal and seem like they're all these great people helping out these other countries, where a lot of the money that they send to other countries, only 30% of it actually goes to the country when you factor in all the NGO fees, all the middlemen that are in there. So you're not really helping. Think about Africa. We've been sending money to Africa since the 1950s. It's over 70 years of aid just with our country. What has changed? They're poorer than ever before. They still have slavery there.
Yeah, slavery has been higher than it's ever been.
Yeah, the Democratic Republic
in 2025.
Yeah, the Democratic Republic of Congo, they are one of the top receivers of this funding, and they literally have children on the backs of women in cobalt mines that are giving this cobalt to companies like Apple to make phones. So the next time you go to buy an Apple iPhone, think about the child that's on the back of a woman slaving for that cobalt. But yeah, we give them funding. Where's that money going?
That gives a whole different meaning to, go to work with Dad Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Literally, I seen a video that there's dust everywhere. It's so much pollutants. It's crazy.
Well, fuck. It's like how much money do we let's stop giving money to foreign aid. Like, I'm curious to know why? Like, what do these countries do for us?
Well, a lot of it, they try to boil it down to strategic partnership building. They would rather the West be strategically partnered with them versus the East. So it's kind of like geopolitics in a way. But at the same time, if we're not getting any benefit and these countries hate us anyways, why are we giving them money at our own peril, really, at this point? Because it's not like we're a prosperous nation right now.
No.
Economically, we're unstable. We're not in a good cash position.
Well, the budget came out and it's double than what it was going to be. And it's just like, I'm opposed to sending no money anywhere ever again. Until these countries can benefit on their own, show me progress. Show me what you can do.
Well, that's part of the problem, is that these governments they're being propped up by our government, so that way they do things according to how our governments want them to, because if not, the funding stops. So really, they're serving the governments of Western nations, not the people of their own countries. That's why nothing's changed, because they put stipulations on the money that they give them in order for them to get the money. So you have to spend it a certain way, and they're only really getting 30% anyways.
I wonder if pull this up. How much money does Canada spend a year in foreign aid?
$18 billion.
18 billion.
18 billion.
And
I got it right here.
Does it say like which countries get what?
Yeah, I have a bit of a breakdown.
I'm curious to know why we're sending so much money to these, countries that need help so badly, but yet nothing good comes from it.
Here, 1 second.
And I can tell you what Canada could do with 18 billion right now, with childcare, homes, like, where does it say here?
You're just pulling it up 1 second. It's right here. Okay, so that's just Africa. So from 2017 to 2023, over 18 billion was sent to African nations. Top recipients include Ethiopia, Nigeria, Democratic Republic of Congo, Mali, South Sudan, and Somalia. Roughly 8 to 10 billion a year in aid. Sub-Saharan Africa receives 4. Okay, so every year we do 8 to 10 billion a year, and Sub-Saharan Africa receives 45 to 50% of that.
Wow.
Yet the infrastructure, poverty, and governance levels in many of those nations have barely changed since the 1970s.
So I wonder how much we give them, and then how much the States gives them. You're telling me they can't figure it out by now?
They've had trillions of dollars.
Yeah, I'm curious to ask Maxime Bernier this. Be like, hey, foreign aid, can we just cut it?
Yep.
It's like they're not really allies of us. Like, if we go to war or anything, is Nigeria gonna come? Is Ethiopia gonna come to our aid? Fuck no.
No.
They're gonna be like, sorry guys, we don't even have planes to like help you guys out.
Exactly. It's not reciprocal.
No.
It's a one-way street, and you know what? If we had the money to do it, then it would make sense.
Yeah, like let's help ourselves first before you help someone else. It's like they always say that too. Like they say that to addicts all the time. Like if an addict's trying to help another addict, it doesn't work out good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you get right first, you take care of your own shit, and then you can help out. But it's like people in Canada are not doing good right now.
Well, it's the same thing. It's kind of foreign aid kind of ties into the welfare, which actually is in his platform, his party platform, is that the foreign aid is just, it's like you're giving a man a fish instead of teaching him how to fish. So by supplementing these people in foreign countries, you're not helping them produce locally.
Yeah.
They need to invest in their own private companies and private markets in order to actually achieve a stable economy. But instead of just giving them money, and they're not really incentivized to do that.
Well, it's like why would I help myself when I know, we're going to get the bag next year around again too.
It's the same thing with welfare. You have how many people on welfare or government assistance who are able-bodied people, able to work, and just choose not to because they don't have to.
Yeah, it's that's a whole other thing. People abusing that policy. Like, yeah, I get it. You know what? We should help those who need it, but the ones who are abusing it should be like, if you get caught double dipping like that, never again.
No. Well, they should have mandatory drug testing. They should also not make it a career. You can only be on assistance for X amount of time, and you have to prove that you are also looking for a job. Kind of like how when people who actually work, they get EI. So when you get fired or you lose your job, then you are on EI for a temporary amount of time, but you also have to submit to them that you are looking for a job.
Yeah. Well, 1 year on EI, I had to do that. I was randomly selected where it was just like, okay, so which places have you applied? And I showed them, and they're like, okay, well, we're holding a workshop to like show you how to like, apply for more jobs. And I went to it because I was trying to find work. But you get a lot of these jobs where it's seasonal, and people will be like, well, I'll just, take the EI check twice a month until I'm back on seasonal. I'm like, no, that's not what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's a lot of jobs that are seasonal, and it's like sometimes that's the case, but it's just like, don't do a seasonal job then.
Yeah.
Like, seasonal jobs are for students.
Yeah, I agree. University students, they work in the summertime.
Yep, get them doing that. Like, look at all these people who do make a seasonal job a career. That's not supposed to be your career.
No, it's not. Also, that kind of segues a little bit into, like, it adds to what you're saying. In his platform, he talks about how these students that come here,
Yeah,
only limiting them to working on campuses and in the school area, not going
outside.
working for
Yeah, work in the coffee shop.
Yes.
Work at
working for the cousin under the table.
yeah, just sponging off the Canadian government and excuse me. It's that's what I want to see. I want to see, I don't care which party it is, they need to tackle it. Like, head on.
We already know the Liberal government is not tackling it. And in fact,
No.
they're adding to it, especially with this new proposed bill they have.
Yeah, let's bring in more foreign workers. Let's, more Canadians, like young Canadians are out of work. But no, we're bringing in people from other countries to supply that. Now, they could say, well, younger Canadians are lazy and they don't want work. I don't think that's the case.
I don't believe that anymore. It's a lie.
I would say that's less than 1%, 0.000% is that the case. But it's just like, nowadays, it's like you have to find a job. Like, you can't be here and not be working.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how expensive? Like, I don't know how, like, when people tell me, they're like, yeah, I just go on EI until my seasonal job kicks off. I'm like, how can you afford that?
They live at home.
Yeah, or their wife works, and then, she goes to full time, and then he stays at home. And you know what? If that works, because like sometimes people have kids, but I don't see how that's benefiting you at all.
Me neither.
But it's curious. I saw a stat the other day would have showed like what our parents would have had to make like nowadays to live at, or to basically have a one household income, and it was like $66 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they would have had to make back then if it was now.
That's crazy.
And everyone always says that, like, oh, well, why don't you just get your wife to stay at home? I wish I could. She would love that.
Mhm.
She could focus on our other business we have. But it's just like, we can't nowadays. Like, daycare alone, like, I pay $1,800 a month in daycare.
Holy.
And then some people are like, oh, there's government assisted ones. Yeah, you can go there, but you go there, and it's a bunch of people who don't speak English. There's like 30 kids there and like 3 adults. And it's just like, I don't know, like, the background. I don't know what they're teaching my kids. Like,
Yeah.
the girl the lady who watches my 2 kids, shout out Nancy, she is the salt of the earth. Like, she is the kindest. I trust her with my kids' lives.
Well, you can pronounce her name too.
Yeah. And it's just like, she's not, indoctrinating them with some, hidden agenda. I don't walk into her house. There's no pride flag there. It's, she's just a good person. But you know what? I'm willing to pay a bit more money to know that my kids aren't going to be fed bullshit. They're going to be well attended to. They're going to be looked after, like, well attended to, same thing. But it's just, it's insane to me nowadays.
It is.
So we'll,
let's segue over.
All right.
How's it going today, Maxime?
Nice day today. I'm in Montreal, and I was watching the budget at the end of the day. I'm traveling in Quebec right now to build the organization. I don't believe that we'll have an election this fall or during Christmas time. I believe that Carney will do everything for his budget to have the support of 3 more MPs to be able to stay in government.
So, what would be the plan of action to trigger an election here?
Oh my God. I hope that we can have an election tomorrow, actually. The sooner would be the better because, if you just look at the budget, what Carney is doing, it's another 5 years of big deficit. Actually, it will add $322 billion to our debt. We won't balance the budget in the next 5 years. And you have the opposition with Pierre Poilievre, who said that he was okay with a deficit of $42 billion this year. For me, you need to balance the budget in 1 year. And if you have the courage of your conviction, you are able to do it. The deficit of this year will be $78 billion. So I believe that Carney will try to please some MPs to be able for that budget to pass. So, answering your question, I hope we can have an election in 2026 in Canada, but I doubt. I can tell you that the People's Party will be ready when the election would be called. Actually, right now, we have already about 68% of our candidates ready if there's an election tomorrow. And that's why I'm traveling across the country, building the organization and meeting people to be sure to have our candidates when that election will come.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the questions that we are going to ask you today, because in the last federal election, you weren't in my riding, for example. I'm in the Calgary area in Alberta. I didn't have any option to choose you guys whatsoever. So what's your plan to get people across the country to get into those ridings? Do you have enough people right now currently? You said you had 68%. Where's the other 32? Are you trying to recruit people? How is that working so far?
Yeah, we must say and we must admit that the last election was not a good one for us. It was very difficult for 2 reasons. The first one is we wanted to have a national debate on immigration, knowing that 65% of the population said, like the People's Party, that they want a moratorium on immigration. They want a pause on immigration, no more migrants. And so that was our position. And as you know, we are the only national political party that is proposing that. But we didn't have a discussion about that at the last election. It was all about Trump, as you know. And the question was who will be the best one between Trump, between Poilievre and Carney to deal with President Trump. So that was a kind of a referendum and not a real election with other subjects, other national policies. That was all about tariffs and Trump. So that was not helping us because we didn't have the discussion that we wanted during that election. Second, the fact that for the first time, usually we have around 320 candidates at every elections, on 338 ridings. At this election, the last one in 2025, last spring, we just had we had 249 candidates. In 92 ridings, we didn't have a candidate. And in 92 ridings, we had 0% of the vote. So that's why, we were not able to grow the percentage of our vote. And but I must admit that 2 days before the cutoff for candidates, we had about 322 candidates, but a lot of them resigned without good reasons the last day. So we didn't have time to find a person to replace them. I believe that a lot of them were conservative and they were telling us that they are with us, but at the end they resigned and didn't give us good reasons. So that's why I said, and I will answer your question about the future. I said to the team, we cannot have that at the next election. So what will happen, and what I'm doing right now with our riding associations across the country, they will be responsible of finding candidates, and that's what they're doing right now. So I'm traveling, meeting them, meeting some people, and yes, our goal is to have before spring 2026 to have our candidates all across the country. So and also at the same time, they will be able to start to work in their writings and being sure that they will be well known or more known. So that's something that is important for us. So that's what I told the organization. Our regional organization must be in charge of finding candidates. At the last elections, it was us at the other office. And, we did interview with them, we did background check. But when you don't know and you just do one interview, that's a little bit more difficult. I want our people on the ground. They know their people, they know what they're doing. And so it's more difficult to lie to somebody that knows you than lying to the head office during an interview. It's easier. So that's why we decided to have a decentralization, and our writing associations would be in charge of finding candidates.
The people that jump ship like right before the end, do you think maybe they jump ship because they didn't think they would be able to get the votes to make a difference, or they were just too worried?
No, I believe, because we did interviews with them. They told us that they're ready to fight. They told us that they believe in our ideas. And so I think that they were conservative and knowing, and they decided to resign because like that, for sure the People's Party can grow if you don't have a candidate in a riding. And we know that because on social media, 5 of them after the deadline, they did a photo or with Pierre Poliev on social media. So I believe that they were people coming from the Conservative Party. As you know, the Conservative Party did everything to destroy the People's Party. When we started the party in 2018, they spent $160,000 to discredit us with Kinsella in Ontario. And that was public, and they spent that money. They were trying to push the idea that the People's Party is a racist party. So they're doing everything to discredit us since the foundation of this party. So that's why I'm not surprised if they did that strategy with some people. Tell them that you are with them, and at the last minute just resign, and like that they won't have anybody in this riding. They won't be able to have votes, and they won't be able to grow.
So they had one foot in, one foot out. They talked the talk, but when the time came down to, get your,
Yeah,
hands
yeah,
dirty, they're like, well, maybe not for me.
yeah, but that's why, when the process will be our writing association, they will know them. They will go to their meeting. They will know them. They will volunteer with them. So, and that's why it's important for our people on the ground to be able to choose candidates and not us at the head office.
Well, one thing that you mentioned at the gala that you did the other day was that since the 2021 election, you've lost 700,000 votes because people didn't want to split the vote in order to get the Conservatives in. But that did not work. So one way you could do that is to flip the script on the Conservative Party and to find disenfranchised Conservative voters who realize that and are awakened to that, in order to get them that are in their own communities and have their own ridings to run for the PPC, in order to also get their friends who are Conservative voters to vote for that party and then get them into a riding. That way you have more seats. That would be a good strategy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right about that. I think so because I've met a lot of these people, and they are still members of the People's Party, and they told me that they are still supporting us, our ideas, but they wanted so hard to get rid of the Liberals that they decided to vote for Poliev and the Conservative Party. So that's why I said the strategic voting, or it's not working. You need to vote for what you believe to have more chances to have what you want. And I believe that they will understand that. So it will be easier for us at the next election to say, okay, you tried that didn't work. We need to be out there. We need to push our ideas. Our time will come. Look what's happening in UK with Nigel Farage. Now, he will be the prime minister over there if there's an election
sorry,
tomorrow.
guys, for having. We got you back.
Yeah,
Sorry.
are you there, guys?
Yep, we're back.
Yeah, sorry, that's me. So I was
That's okay.
saying, Nigel Farage over there, if there's an election tomorrow, he will win. That's a parliamentary system. And, that's why we need to work hard, and our time will come.
Yeah. I remember when your party first came out, and I voted for you guys because I didn't like the way the Conservative Party was going, and I hated Trudeau. And I was like, yeah, more people needed to vote for the PPC. But I heard that talk a lot. They're like, well, you're just gonna split the vote, and then the Liberals will get the majority. I was like, vote for what you actually believe in, and vote for what you care about.
The
Yeah.
problem is that
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
how do we get you guys into enough ridings in order to actually secure even a minority government before the Liberals destroy our country? How do we do that?
I like your question because with the budget of today, it's a budget that is destroying our economy, and it would be worse. We are in a recession right now. We may be in a depression, so that's not going well, and it's not the government who will fix that. More government, when you have more government, you have less freedom. When you have less freedom, you have less economic prosperity. So that being said, what is the strategy for us? Our strategy is first, let's be sure that every Canadian can vote for the People's Party. So, so that's why we need to have a candidate in every riding. First, second, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. So what I'm telling you is we can put resources, more money in couple of ridings across the country where we know that we have a bigger chances or to win that riding. So we will do that. We will have a candidate in every riding, and maybe in 10 or 15 ridings, I don't know, the one that would be able to say, okay, we may be able to win that riding. We'll put more money there, more resources there, and so that's something that we can do. But the most important is to, look at the Christian Heritage Party, the Libertarian Party. They have maybe only 50 candidates at every elections. And that's why they cannot grow. They cannot grow their percentage of the vote. So it's important to have that. And we are working on that to have a candidate everywhere. But after that, keep some money to promote some ridings where we can win.
That makes sense. That's a good plan. As far as economic instability goes, why is our government not utilizing all the resources across Canada, including the Northwest Territories? Quebec has a big oil and gas. They have a lot of barrels there. I think the estimates were 100 billion barrels underground, but due to green initiatives, they're not utilizing that. Even New Brunswick has a lot of oil and gas offshore. Why are they not utilizing all this in order to harness the power of our country?
Well, because of a bad ideology. They believe in climate change. They believe that, everything is pollution. And so the leftists are in charge. They don't want to develop their economic resources, mining and things like that. So the best way to do that, as you know, the federal government is giving money on the equalization formula, $26 billion a year. We can cut that by half, and that would be a great incentive for provinces to develop their own economy. They don't have any incentive to develop their economy because they receive that money from, the poorer you are as a province, the more money you receive from Ottawa. So we need to change that. That's a bad incentive. If you cut the equalization formula, if you have a new formula that would be fair for everybody. Right now, it's not fair for Alberta. As you know, in Quebec, we are a poor province, but that's not true. We are a poor province under the equalization formula since the creation of that program in 1957. Quebec always, every year, received equalization money. And we are not poor. We are poor because all the income that the federal government is receiving and the provincial government from hydroelectricity, it is not part of the equalization of the formula. But all the money that the federal and provincial government receive from oil and gas, it is part of the formula. So Quebec is a rich province in hydroelectricity, but because it's not part of the formula, so we are a poor province. We need to change that formula to be less generous and at least to cut the equalization payment by half. And Quebec last year received $13 billion. So you can cut that. And I said a couple of years ago that I'm not proud to be a Quebecers when we receive equalization money. We need to develop our own economy. The best way to give the right incentive is to cut that, and like that, provinces will have to be more open
Self-efficient.
to economic development.
So do you think cutting equalization payments will maybe help provinces jumpstart kind of like their workforce and being able to use their natural resources? Because we're from Alberta and we constantly get fed up with finding out how much money we give across the country. But at the same time, they're totally okay taking money from Alberta, but yet they constantly say, well, you guys need to go green. Oil and gas is bad, but they're totally okay taking the money from us.
Well, they also buy
Yeah,
a lot of their
that's
oil
why,
from Saudi Arabia too.
Yeah. So they're taking your money. And what's happening also, your population in Alberta is growing right now. You are, a very successful province. You have a lot of natural resources and you did exploit them. And that's great for your benefit, but for the benefits of all the country also. That being said, the federal government is telling you it's bad what you're doing. We will do everything for you to have more difficulty to exploit your natural resources. And so they're not helping you. And that's why you have that separatist movement in Alberta. And I can understand the frustration of Albertans. Poilievre is not speaking about cutting the equalization payment. Poilievre is pandering to Ontario and Quebec to be able to have more seats, and is taking your vote in Alberta for granted. We are not, and you're right. Developing natural resources, every province must be able to do what you're doing in Alberta. There's a lot of natural resources in Ontario, in Quebec, shale gas in New Brunswick. There's a moratorium on the exploitation of shale gas in New Brunswick. Why? I don't know, because they think that it's bad. No, it's good. Do that, and you'll be richer. So it's the federation is not functioning because we are not respecting the constitution. The federal government is imposing its policies all across the country. Natural resources is in the constitution under the jurisdictions of provinces. Why the federal government will always tell you that you cannot do that and that and that. So, and in the budget, I believe that Danielle Smith will be a little bit disappointed because she had nine conditions to be able to be happy in that federation, and there's nothing in the budget about that. So I don't know what she will do. But if you have a referendum in 2026, and it's still the same government in Ottawa that is putting everything against you, you'll have a decision to take at that time.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's this, green agenda that's always pushed that promotes that like oil and gas is bad and, we need to go green. It's like Carney's like there'll be no gas vehicles come 2030. And I'm like, that doesn't sound responsible because we don't have the infrastructure to support that. Like you see these Tesla power stations and like Teslas don't work great in the winter. And it's just like if more people, I feel like, kind of understood the truth behind it, they'd be more willing to be like accepting of, oil and gas and natural resources. But it's almost like it gets tarnished because everyone wants the world to be green and peace, but it gets this image where it's like, no, the world's going to end if, the polar ice caps are melting and greenhouse gases, and it's not climate, or what was it? It was climate change, and they change the name every few years once it doesn't suit their, agenda.
So what would you do for your government if you got in power next year? How would you handle the climate crisis? How would you handle the resources we have in our country? And what would you do to change the dynamic of this country?
I must correct you on your question about when you said, what will you do about the climate crisis? I think that you know that there's no climate crisis. And so
No,
I will do
no.
nothing. I want to impose a carbon tax. I want to impose regulations. I want to, I will withdraw from the Paris Accord. There's no climate
Fuck yeah.
emergency. There's no climate crisis. And everything that the federal government right now is putting money there, like the carbon capture. Now they're saying CO2 is so bad that we must develop a technology. And actually, they put $1 billion in the budget to promote that today, to promote the carbon capture technology. You capture carbon and you put that in the CO2 and you put that in the ground. CO2 is not a pollutant. It is a gas essential for life. It is the gas that I'm emitting right now, speaking to you. We need CO2. We need more CO2. When you have more
Yep.
CO2, the planet will be greener.
Yeah.
So, as you know, if you have in agriculture and you want to grow, for example, during winter tomatoes inside in a greenhouse, you put CO2 there. More CO2 because that's food for plant and they will grow faster. So we need more CO2. And now, the conservative, the liberals, the NDP, the Bloc Québécois, they are telling us that it would be the end of the world if we don't do something about the climate. And
Yeah,
they're
well,
spending $1 billion that we don't have on that. So the answer to that question, we won't do anything. We will save money and we'll develop our natural resources.
They should fire their consultants because they can just plant trees instead of developing some stupid idea to capture CO2. It's ridiculous.
well,
Yeah,
the amount
and-
of carbon monoxide that's released every year in Canada, the amount of trees that we have, it recycles itself and purifies the air by like 1 billion to 1. So the fact that they're like, Canada's greenhouse gases and all that, it's like we literally have a purifying system in it alone. So this whole carbon tax thing, it was just like it's just a sham, and more and more people are starting to realize that it doesn't add up anymore. Like how many times have they changed the end of the world date?
Mm-hmm.
If
But
you don't,
yeah, and you have a point there. Guys, I'm 62 years old. And in the 1970s, they were telling us that New York City won't exist because the ocean is rising. It was full page of a newspaper at that time. We didn't have any, iPhone and social media. It was all in the media, the fear campaign saying, we need to do something because New York won't exist. The oceans are raising. That was crazy. And nothing happened. And now it's the same thing. They try to scare people to have a big
Fear
socialist
tactics.
government.
There's always money involved with it, right? It's like they cause the fear through the propaganda arm of CBC, and then they add a price to it. I know we have limited time here. What would you do with immigration? It seems to be plaguing our society everywhere. This rural immigration pilot program they're instilling to get voters throughout the country in different ridings. How will you combat this if you got into office?
Yes. There's on immigration, there's a sad news in the budget of today because we will have another 700,000 permanent resident and temporary foreign workers and students, 780,000 more this year. So for us, what we will do, like we said, we need to have a moratorium on immigration. That means a pause for a couple of years, no more immigrants, no more migrants, because we're not able to absorb, we're not able to integrate them, and they are changing the social fabric of our country. Young people cannot have a job. Actually, the unemployment rate for young people in Canada it's 14%, and the federal government is encouraging Tim Horton and Costco and these big corporations to have temporary foreign workers. That's cheap labor for big corporation. We need to end that. But with the budget, that's not the case. They will still have 780,000 migrants this year. And actually, also what they did in the budget that we won't do, they said in the budget today that 32,000 of temporary foreign workers and international students who don't want to leave the country, because when you have your diploma and you're a student on a student permit, after that you go back to your country of origin. That
Yep.
was what happened all the time. But no, they don't want to, they want to stay here. And when you're a temporary foreign worker, when you, after you work for 6 months, you go back to your country of origin. But the federal government told us in the budget there's 32,000 of them who don't want to leave the country. And so they will give them a nice gift. They will give them permanent residency. Can you believe we are giving permanent residency to people, foreigners, who are not respecting our legislations because they're supposed to leave the country? So what we must do instead is to deport them. But no, the
Yes,
federal
thank you.
government will tell them, we will give you a permanent residency. You can stay in Canada. You're illegals. That's okay. We will regulate that. We will fix that. We'll give you the permanent residency.
Well, they have voters then. That's what they want. They know the young population coming up is seeing right through them through social media. They don't have control over the media anymore. So they want to get rid of the aging population, which is the boomers that are still voting for them, implement these new immigrants that are coming in here so they keep voting for them. And not to mention all these asylum seekers that are coming here and they're getting subsidized up to $81,000 per year per person. Meanwhile, our median income in Canada is $63,000, down from $68,000. So it's absolutely abhorrent what's going on here.
And nobody speak about that. We are the only one. Poliev, he doesn't want to speak about that because he's pandering to them. Now they're so important in Canada that these new immigrants control some ridings. And so for Poliev, if he wants to be in government, he will need to have the support of a lot of ridings near Toronto, the GTA. There's more seat in the GTA. Not in all Ontario, only in the GTA. There's more seat than in all Alberta. So for Poliev, he's taking your vote in Alberta for granted, and he's looking to have more support in the GTA and in Quebec. And so that's why, he's pandering to them. But we are telling the truth to Canadians, and I believe more and more people will look at it. We are losing our country. And at that speed, it's replacement theory in practice.
Yeah.
Would you ban foreign nationals from being in our government? I feel like that should be common practice in our country, but it doesn't seem that way. 1 in 6 MPs is foreign national.
Yeah, and also the other thing that we have, if you want to be in the Canadian forces, it's okay if you're not a Canadian citizen.
Yeah.
So you're not a Canadian citizen, you'll be a part of the Canadian forces and fight for us. We are the only country in the Western countries who accept that. We accept foreigners in our Canadian forces. That's crazy. Yeah.
They have no allegiance to our country whatsoever.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays, immigration wasn't such a big topic 10 years ago. But what I see a problem nowadays is you get a lot of these immigrants coming to Canada, but they don't want to become Canadian. It's like Canada always has to bend the knee to their beliefs or the country they previously came from. It's like you see it everywhere now. And it's just like more and more Canadians are being called racist because it's like, oh, you don't want them coming here. It's like, no, it's because they don't want to assimilate. They don't want to adapt. And it's just like, if you come here, you should be Canadian first before anything else. Not, I'm, Indian before Canadian. I'm Muslim before this. No, you should be, I'm Canadian first. Everything else falls second. And it doesn't feel like there's any more national pride anymore.
You're right about that. And, it's because also with the Multiculturalism Act, we are telling them, keep your culture, come here in Canada, don't integrate into our society. And if you want to celebrate your culture, that's okay. The federal government will give you money for that. We'll give you subsidies for that. We need to cut all that funding. We need to abolish and repeal that legislation, and we need to give money to Canadians who want to celebrate our country, our heritage, our story, our culture. But that's happening right now. And the challenge that you have in Alberta, because of that mass immigration, your population is growing. And for the last 10 years, because in Alberta, the economy was better than in other provinces, you had people coming from New Brunswick, coming from Quebec, coming from Ontario, who are going to Alberta and they're working in Alberta and they're becoming resident of Alberta. It's okay, they're working and they have a job. But the downside of that, they're bringing their socialist ideology and they're voting leftist. And now you have a socialist mayor in Edmonton, you have a socialist mayor in Calgary. So it's more and more difficult for the right to be elected in Alberta. You need to have all the rural ridings. It's because yes, you attract people and they don't understand that if they have a job, it's because of the capitalist system. It's because lower taxes. It's because of more freedom. But they're coming here and they're bringing their bad ideology, socialist ideology, and step by step they are transforming your province. You had an NDP government in Alberta. It's crazy, and you may have another NDP government. So it's sad, but you are our last hope for a freer and a more prosperous province because of your good economic policies. But if you have a government that is socialist, all that will go down the drain.
Well, these people are fleeing liberal policies in those other provinces and then coming here and still voting the same. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
cognitive dissonance in our country. I know we don't have a ton of time, but how would you combat that? Because we have half the population of Canada who is under a spell from the Liberal government and still not seeing the destruction of the country. How would you tackle that? Where do you even start with that?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. You're right about that. If you add to that, about 43% of the population in Canada is depending on the federal government. They're civil servants or they're Canadians who receive their pension and they're working for federal organizations. So 43% are dependent of the government. And that percentage is growing. So it's more and more difficult. And what we must do? I believe that we can have a peaceful revolution. You need only 20% of the populations to bring ideas and change that. And look what happened during the Freedom Convoy. That was a tiny minority, but very efficient. And we were able to change, all these draconian measures after the Freedom Convoy. It took a couple of weeks, and every provincial government, step by step, withdraw their draconian measures. It was because of the Freedom Convoy. So we need engaged citizens. We need citizens that will participate, that will stand up and speak for what they believe with their friends and their family. And if more people are not afraid to tell the truth and say what they want, the movement will grow, and that little minority will become a majority. We will influence more people. And that's why we are, cancel on social media, on the mainstream media, we the People's Party, because these leftists, they know if we have more visibility, we are telling the truth based on facts and science, and it's common sense. So if we have more visibility, we will grow faster, and they don't want that. So that's why I'm very pleased to be with you tonight, and I'm doing a lot of podcasts and out there on
Thank you.
social media, and that's helped us to grow the movement.
Well,
One last question. Would you ever consider running as a conservative leader? Because not only would you have the base already, but I know you were already in the Conservative Party, but you would actually get in and you'd be able to put forth the platform that you have because you're the only Canada First platform that's out there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We are the only one. Actually, I'm laughing a little bit because, Polyev is doing politics by slogan. It's only empty slogan. And during the last campaign, he was saying Canada first, but it was okay to give money to Ukraine, to all these immigrants that are coming, and so he didn't have a Canada first program. That being said. But yes, you're right. That's the foundation of our party: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness, and put Canadian first. That's why we created the People's Party. Answering your questions about the Conservative Party, I was part of them. I did run for the leadership of the Conservative Party in 2017 when Harper resigned, and I didn't win that contest contest with 49% of the vote. But that being said, I didn't stay in the Conservative Party because I didn't have the right to express my point of view. If you don't tell what the leader wants, you won't have any influence in the party. You won't be able to speak. And they told me, Maxime, if you're speaking about ending the cartel in supply management or in immigration, you won't be able to stay as a conservative. It's not like in the U.S. You can be a Republican in the U.S. and speaking against Trump and voting against Trump, but it will be okay. You have more freedom in the U.S. system, but here you have a strict parliamentary system, and the party system is very strong. And if you don't throw the line coming from the leader, you won't be able to express your point of view. And so that's why I left the party. I said, I don't want to be in this party anymore. You are morally and intellectually corrupt because you don't speak about real conservative values. And by doing that, you are giving credibility to the leftist narrative. And that was the case in 2018. And that's still the case today. So, me going back in the Conservative Party, I will waste my time because their goal is to win elections, and their goal is to tell Canadians what they want to hear today. Our goal is to change the public opinion, to inform Canadians, to tell them the truth. Doing that, we want to be elected, but we know that it will take more time to be elected. And that's why at every campaign, we have the same electoral platform, the same vision for this country. And I can tell you, the People's Party will be there when Canadians are ready.
That sounds good. I wish you guys well. I think-
Actually, do you
Thanks.
mind? Can I ask you one question before we let you go
Yeah.
here, quick? So, there's a lot of younger people nowadays who kind of just, my vote doesn't matter because the government never changes. So, if you could have one message to, younger voters to get them to be engaged in politics and actually, lack of the word, like, their vote actually gives a shit, what would you say to them?
Yeah, actually, I like that question because we have a potential of 15% support with young male from 18 years old to 35 years old. And so that's why, we started an account on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm more active there. So that being said, what I'm telling them, your vote count. Every vote is important. So, yes, it's important to go to vote in line with your ideas, but also to tell your friends and your family about politics, what you like in politics, what you don't like in politics, why having real discussion with your friends. And that's important because at the end, if you want real changes in this country, it will come by politics. We won't have, nobody will do a coup d'etat and do something. No, we are a democracy. The way to change that is to go out there and vote. And it's important because at the same time, you are in a riding. When you vote for your candidate in your riding. And in your riding, if you have one PPC candidate that is winning because of you in your riding, will have that first voice in parliament, and that revolution will start. So be engaged, because if you don't do anything, you know, right now what the politicians are doing against you young people, it's a disaster. You cannot buy a house, you have inflation, you know, you need it's difficult to have a first job, and we need to change, and we are the only solution for you, the real solutions. If you want to have more information, I'll tell you, go on our website, read our platform, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Go on X, follow me, Maxime Bernier, and you can follow me on the Rumble and all these social media. Be an informed citizen, and that will be the beginning of that revolution in this country.
Well, that was the main reason why we started this podcast, because we wanted to get people engaged in politics and, you know, have these tough conversations, because there's always that, you know, thing where people say, "Oh, you shouldn't talk about politics." I'm like, why shouldn't we talk about politics? It's the one thing that's in every single person's life. Have those difficult conversations, get engaged in politics, get engaged in local politics, and then you can actually see a change made.
If you
Yeah.
guys come to Alberta, let us know.
Yeah, I will actually. I think I'll be there. I was supposed to be there in November, but I don't know with my agenda. But I'll let you know, guys. And if we can do something in person, that would be fun.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Thank you very much for your time,
Maxine,
sir.
for coming on, and we hope to reconnect with you guys in the future. I mean, you have my vote.
Me too. We
Thank
just need to get
you.
you in my riding. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, guys. And I'll try to be there in person next time with you, and we'll have more time.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Have a good night.
Bye bye. Well, that was Maxime Bernier.
That was. What did you think of it?
I loved it, man. Tell you what, he has my vote, and it's just it's such a shame that wasn't an option on the previous election we just had.
Yeah.
Because I voted for him the first year, or for the party the first year, and I would have voted again. But like he said, we didn't have enough people in the ridings, and you know, he was saying people jumped ship at the last moment.
Yep.
And I think that's you know, a hard line for people. It's like they can talk the talk, but when it comes down to, you know, getting your hands dirty, you know, they jump ship.
Well, I think he kind of alluded to that the Conservative Party implanted those people in his party, and then last minute they pulled out because he said 5 of them were taking pictures with Polyev. So it must have been a coordinated thing to kind of take votes away from them.
Yeah, like trust is a huge thing nowadays, and that would have pissed me off. I would have gone on social media, been like, "Way to go, you cowards!"
Well, people wonder why he rips on Polyev too so much. It's because of those things like that. Politics is dirty. We all know that.
Well, when he was talking about the budget too, and how they're bringing how many thousands more,
over 700,000 more people.
Yeah, like no
per
offense.
year, by the way.
I used to like Polyev. Fuck you, Polyev. Okay. You know, you claim to be for Canadians, but you're not.
Well, he wears the uniform of whatever culture he goes to hang out with. You know, when he was in Alberta, he had the cowboy hat on. When he's in Brampton, he has the little hat and the robes on. It's like, dude, why don't you be Canadian? Because people will respect you.
Yeah. Stop putting on a costume for whoever you're pandering to.
Exactly. That's the problem with the politics today, is that they're fake people. You know, I understand they have to get in, they have to get the votes, but authenticity is lacking in the world, really, especially in our government. It's just not there.
No. And, you know, I like what Maxine said, too. He's like, yeah, we're getting on TikTok. He's trying to get engaged with the younger crowd. And, like, people, like, if there is an election in 2026, don't vote Conservative. Because they're no better than the Liberals right now. Look at all the shit they're talking about.
Well, not only that, we tried to not split the vote the last time. We all voted Conservative, and what happened? The Liberals got in.
Yeah.
Now,
could you imagine if the people who were worried about splitting the vote actually voted for the PPC?
Well, then they'd be in Parliament if they got a riding, right? So then you've got a speaker in Parliament. That's what he was saying with the revolution, is once you get one person in there, it starts to spread.
Like, I got fired up. Like, I want to be a member.
Yeah.
What's that called? Not a member, but
well, you could be a representative.
I want to be a representative for Calgary.
Yeah.
PPC. I will be your representative of Calgary. Okay. I won't back down. I'm ride or die.
We need to get people into politics ASAP. We need to start a large community. Everybody who watches this podcast, get involved in politics. Start voting. Make sure that you are outspoken in your community. Start to know your community. Get
Yeah.
out there.
And challenge people's thought. Like, challenge their views all the time. You know, it's like I was telling Maxine, like, people are like, oh, you shouldn't talk about politics. And it's like, it's the one thing that controls every single one of us is politics. And many will say, it's like, well, if nothing changes. If that's the case, then nothing ever will change until you actually make an educated decision to get involved, start talking, discuss the topics. And you know what? Yeah, it's going to piss some people off, but good. Make people pissed off, change their mind. You know, don't come at it, you know, hot-headed. I should take my own advice in that matter, but you know, we need change now. And if you go on Google, look at the Canadian budget that just came out. Like, we're fucked.
It's a complete disaster. And the problem is, I feel like it was kind of, you know, call me conspiracy. The government put out the taboo politics thing. You know, it's taboo to talk about politics because that's the one thing that really matters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we all have that in common, as you said on the podcast. And we need to start getting engaged, especially the younger population. The older population, the boomers who are holding us hostage by voting mostly liberal, we are going to outnumber them soon enough here. We have to start getting engaged and getting involved in order to make change in our country, or else our country is going to be lost forever. We're heading down that path now. Take a look at the UK. See what, see what happens when people don't get involved and they allow these liberal governments to just do whatever they want and invade their country with voters, with immigrants, migrants, asylum seekers, all this nonsense. And then they go out and vote. They go out and vote. They get their people in the ridings, the councillors, the mayors. In the UK, most of the mayors in major cities are Muslim because all the Muslim people, although they're a smaller population, go out and vote, whereas the native people do not.
Yeah. Get out, vote, make a difference. It's like the boomers. It's like they don't have skin in the game. Like, it's not their fight. They're gone past. It's like what happens to them doesn't really affect them. Their house is bought or paid off. They're either retired. They don't have to worry about it. It's people like you and I, young people, who need to really worry about this kind of shit.
Well, think about the next generation. Our generation is getting screwed. What about your kids? People 18 and under.
Yeah.
Do these boomers not have any grandchildren? I mean, at the end of the day, what's going to happen to them is that the people who are boomers and are relying on social security checks, they're going to get screwed. They're already getting screwed, and asylum seekers are getting more money per month than they are. So you think that would be a wake-up call, not to mention the home equity tax that Carney's going to roll out to make up for all the foreign spending and all the social programs that you guys keep voting for. So I'm glad that he'll be taxing you and taking away money from your monthly paycheck in order to fund the programs that you guys want.
Yeah. You know, it's too bad we couldn't had him on longer because there's so much more I want to ask him.
Oh, yeah. I could have talked to that guy for a couple hours, honestly.
I wanted to ask him, like, what would you do to keep Canadians in Canada? Because we see more and more Canadians fleeing Canada and going to the US because better quality of life there. You know, their dollar goes much further in the US than it does here. And it's just like, I'd like to know, like, hey, what are you going to do to make Canadians to be proud of being Canadian again?
Make Canada great again.
Yes, we need to.
Instill national pride. You know, make the country something that you love again. You know what I mean? Boost the people. Fire up the base. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fire up the natural resources we have. We are a rich nation. There's no reason why anybody should even be paying tax. The government owns all the resources anyways. They should just fire them all up.
Yeah.
Force these countries, like you said in the podcast, stop enabling provinces like Manitoba, Quebec, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, all of these countries who take a lot of equalization payments, defund them. Allow them to build up their own private industries, which they have a lot of resources, tons of resources.
Yeah, remove all these regulations, get rid of this climate crisis bullshit, get people working again. Like, yeah, immigration's great. It can do good for a country, but not when we don't have the work for it. We don't have the infrastructure. So you know what? remove all the equalization payments, get all these provinces to take responsibility, fire up your resources, get people working, and majority of the problem solved right there.
If people aren't taxed to death, they're going to be a lot happier with the country that they live in because their standard of living is going to go through the roof.
Our quality of life is going to be happy.
Exactly.
Like, people will be stoked. Like, oh, you mean at the end of the year, after the government takes their, 30%, I still have, lots of money in my bank account. But nowadays, we don't have that.
Well, if you cut the bureaucracy and actually fire up the resources we have, the government wouldn't even have to take 30%. What if they just took 5%? Like the GST, that's it. They took the 5%. They cut property taxes. They enabled you to go out with your friends, go on vacation a couple times a year. That's how we should all be living.
Imagine being able to go on vacation once or twice a year. How awesome would that be, eh?
That would be incredible.
Imagine being able to afford most things. Imagine not being able to go to the grocery store and be like, shit, I can only have this much. I only have this much. I can only buy this much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I haven't, in my lifetime, rather than living at home, I haven't had that, luxury of being like, oh, it doesn't matter. Well, we can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every time I go to the grocery store or I pay bills, I'm looking at my bank account saying, okay, I only have this much and this much and this much. And people might say, well, you should have picked a better career. It's like, oh, I've worked in the oil field, construction. I work fucking hard. I should have more money than I do. And it's just like, people nowadays don't want to have kids because they're like, I can't afford kids. And
yeah,
when you do have kids, you realize, what you save money on, not going out as much, but like, that shouldn't be a thing anymore. You should be able to enjoy life. You should be able to want to have kids. You should be able to make enough money on one income. Women should be able to stay home and raise families like they used to. Not saying that women shouldn't work. Don't cancel me on that. But having the option to do that would be much better than like what we're at right now.
I've got an idea. How about we cut taxes for anyone who has 3, 4, or more kids? No taxes at all.
Well, like, just give
No income tax.
give us a break.
Yep.
Like, make it not so strenuous on a family where it's like both kids or both parents need to work. Then it just like it creates this like riffraff in between like the family work life.
But then they couldn't save the world by importing the third world and subsidizing them all. Then they couldn't do that stuff because they wouldn't need to.
No.
It's absolutely absurd.
I want more money in my bank account. I want to be able to spend more time with my kids, and I want less stress. Less stress of just worrying about the day-to-day shit all the time when I should be worrying about other stuff.
Exactly.
But I feel like that's a good way to end.
Yeah.
And yeah, guys, we're trying to get more and more guests on, not just political, but given the state of the world, that's kind of what we're, leaning into right now.
We've reached out to Pierre's team. We're going to reach out to Carney's team. Whether they'll come on or not, I have no idea.
Yeah, right.
But we're going to try to get more guests that could possibly make an impact in our country, because our country is in a bad state and we need to fix it.
Yeah, and I don't just want people who I align with to come on.
No.
I would love to have, someone from Carney's government come on, but they won't because they don't want to talk about it. Or it's like how Maxime was saying, it's like they can't talk bad about their party because then they won't be able to talk.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be the case.
I'll take anyone from Carney's government. Even if it's not him, I'll take anybody. Anybody can come on. How about the safety minister? We'll get that guy on.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? We'll get anybody. But anyways.
Anyone who can speak English properly.
Yeah.
Please.
Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your mom, tell your dad.
Yeah. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on Monday.
See you guys.